Hey everybody, welcome to the 757Teamz High School Football Chat. I'm Jami Frankenberry.
And I'm Larry Rubama.
Well, Larry, we're down to two teams, only two teams left in the playoffs. That's Norview and Oscar Smith. We'll get to their games in a few minutes, but first let's talk about last week and what happened on the fields. Oscar Smith beats Woodside. Oscar Smith shuts them out. They shut down the running game, and the Tigers keep rolling.
Yeah, the Tigers' defense, they've just been playing outstanding the whole time. Interceptions, fumbles, they're just making things happen. And once again, you can go as far as you can when you got a good defense. You just need a little bit of offense to win a state title.
Yeah, Oscar Smith has 24 interceptions. You'll see a story about that defense later on this week in the Pilot. They shut down the running game. Again, Woodside had come in averaging more than 300 yards on the ground. And Oscar Smith, they didn't play great on offense. They scored a couple touchdowns. Shawn Mitchell has not had really a great game for a couple of weeks, but they did just enough.
Defense, that's all you need. Khalid Perry talked about it all the time. A couple weeks ago, he says, we have the best defense in the state. Right now, they're proving it. Now they only got 2 more games to go.
That's right. And in the 5A South region, you saw Hampton against Norview. What a game, what a finish. Talk about the Pilots and sort of how they survived that game.
Yeah, well, they survived one with the officials. It was 18-4 was the count. 18 penalties for Norview, 4 penalties for Hampton. But they battled it. Hampton came back, almost pulled out again. Daz Newsom, guy who was going to Maryland, had a great catch, but he was looked out of bounds. 47 seconds left. Norview went back downfield. I tell you, I mean, Anton Ashby, Kevin Marks, Dario Mack, they just put it together. But the key of the game was Kayvon Lawson. Had a great catch at the end of the game to win it, and then had an interception. Just a great game for Norview. They look really good out there.
Yeah, they won 29-28. Norview is back in a state semifinal. They haven't won a state title since the 50s, so we'll talk about that and who they play coming up. In the other games, Dinwiddie and Lake Taylor. Lake Taylor falls 29-15. We knew it was going to be a tough place to play in Dinwiddie, and Dinwiddie comes away with the win, ends Lake Taylor's season.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising because you thought, okay, if they can get past Dinwiddie, they got a chance to make another state championship game. It ends, and I know I kept seeing the feeds throughout the whole night. They were winning for a little while, and the next time I looked, I was like, they lost. I was like, man. But so, like you said, you've been to Dinwiddie. You've seen what it's like there, that home support that they got there, and Lake Taylor came up short this year.
Yeah, Dinwiddie had some big plays late in the game, and that's how they came away with that victory. Phoebus shuts down Lakeland. We thought, Lakeland maybe had a shot with that running game, but Phoebus really shut them down. They won 21-0, and most importantly, they stopped DeMontre Miltier, the running back for Lakeland.
And not many teams have been able to do that this year. They were able to do it. They slowed him down. They banged him up, and they knew that was going to be if they stopped him, they could win the game, and they did.
Yeah, that's right. So Phoebus moves on. That's in the 3A East region, so they'll play in the championship game. So this week we've got 2 big games in the 6A South region. We have Colonial Forge at Oscar Smith. That's 2 o'clock on Saturday. Larry, we've seen the Eagles before. They came down here, lost to Oscar Smith. I think they played 3 of the last 4 seasons, including 2 years ago. What do you think is going to happen in that game?
I think Oscar Smith, they're at home. That's the one big key. They're at home. The other thing is they can't sleep on Colonial Forge. If you remember, I think it was 3 years ago, Colonial Forge came down here, upset Ocean Lakes. Then they had to play Oscar Smith. Oscar Smith beat them. But the Colonial Forge, they can play ball. They're a good team. They wouldn't be this far if they couldn't play ball. But Oscar Smith can't overlook them and look at the championship. They got to win this one first and then move on.
Yeah, Colonial Forge, they're really balanced on offense. They kind of do running back by committee. So it'll be a challenge for that Oscar Smith defense. But again, I mean, we think Oscar Smith's defense is going to be ready for the task.
Yeah, I think so. I think Khalid Perry in that defense, and that defensive line is really good. I mean, they get a lot of push in there. I think that once again, Oscar Smith being at home with the Tiger Cage and everything else going on, I think they're going to be advancing to the state championship.
That's at Saturday, 2 o'clock at Oscar Smith. And the winner of that game gets into the state championship game. Oscar Smith was there last season.
Right.
And something, we really haven't talked about in the postseason, Shawn Mitchell, the star quarterback for Oscar Smith, for all his accolades, for all his accomplishments, he has never won a state title. So that's going to be some extra motivation for him and the Tigers.
And he said that also. He said, hey, this whole season, it's great to set these records and things, but I got to get a state title. And he really wants it not only for himself, but for the players who've gone before that. As well. He even talked about Richard Morgan, getting him a ring. So this is big for him. He wants to go out with a bang.
Yeah, now in the 5A South Region Championship game, we're going to have Norview at Highland Springs. These 2 teams are familiar with each other. Highland Springs, the Springers, are the defending state champions. They knocked off Indian River last year in the state semifinals. This year, they beat LC Bird last week. We know LC Bird's a perennial power up there in the Richmond area.
Right.
Highland Springs, though, with quarterback Juwan Carter, it's going to be a challenge for the Pilots.
It is. Juwan Pooty, that's his nickname, Pooty Carter. Last week he counted for 4 touchdowns. He's got that offense rolling. They also have Rel Coley, who plays both running back and defensive back. Earlier when they played this year, Norview lost 27-14, but the one thing about Norview was they moved the ball well. Mack had over 100 yards throwing, almost 100 yards rushing. He had an interception in the end zone, and then also Kevin Marks had a fumble on the goal line. So that's 2 opportunities that went against them. They're ready for this game. They also had 3 players that didn't play in that game. So that was the second game of the season when they played Norview. So when they played Highland Springs. So this is going to be a different game, but they also know Highland Springs is a much different team as well. So it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, Highland Springs is really a tough place to play. It's up near Richmond, so Norview is going to be on the road. That's at 2 o'clock. They've updated the time. It was 1 o'clock. Now it's 2 o'clock. So, that offense for Norview, you talked about Darion Mack Jr., Kevin Marks, Anton Ashby, and, they're going to have to perform against that Highland Springs defense.
And the defense is going to play huge as well. I know the game against Hampton, I really liked the play of outside linebacker Jalen Joe. Had some really key plays. He seemed like he was the focal point of that defense, and they made something happen. They shut down Daz Newsome. Daz didn't do too much in that game, so they got to bring it again. But with Pooty Carter, they got to be ready. That team's going to be fired up, and they're playing at home, and they're the defending champs. It should be a great game.
Yeah, what other video chat can you hear the word Pooty uttered? Only this one on 757Teamz.com. So that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to check out the Pilot 757 Teams all week long. We're going to have coverage of all the teams, both teams, and talk about their opponents. And then join us on Saturday for live updates, live videos, and we'll see you at the games.